when you think about this type of ideas in relation with the differences between ancient Greeks and Roman Empire, we have to understand that in particular the Greek society it was in relation with a specific type of exclusivity. In this sense, for example, the Greek city-states were closed into themselves. Therefore, it was important that the civil law in relation with the idea of city-state, it was in relation with itself and according to the idea of city-states, there were a specific type of difference between citizens and no citizens. This is really important because, on the one hand, the idea, for example, of the barbarians, Greeks didn't develop the specific idea of barbarians. In fact, in all their histories, according to the ancient Greek society, the barbarians, therefore, that people who lived outside the city-state, or better, outside the Greek idea, were different cultures that, in any case, couldn't understand and couldn't be part of the Greek world. Therefore, they were not as Greeks, but in any case, they didn't know rights and laws. This is really important because, according to the Greek people, the barbarians, in any case, couldn't have a specific type of dignity. That dignity that the idea of a city-state could develop, in particular, also between Greeks, but in particular also the Greek city-states between them were in a lot of situations in battles. They did wars between them, and it is important that they had the same pantheon of gods, but at the same time, the different type of citizens of a city-state consider the others a sort of foreigners with a different type, a little bit different type of possible dignity. This is important because, on the one hand, the idea of culture in ancient Greek society it was stabilized in relation with the idea of Greek society. On the other hand, the idea of barbarians that, according to the Greeks, couldn't develop a specific type of connection with them. If in any end, or moreover, the idea of citizen, there were slaves that people became slaves, in particular after wars, after battles. The people who lost the battles and wars often became slaves or of the city-state who won the battle. We know, for example, the different type of examples of the Peloponnesian War, where, in this sense, there were a lot of slaves were developed that became slaves because they lost, in this sense, their battles. For example, the main example that Thucydides explained, it was the example of the island of Melo, where the Athenian people or the Athenian citizen, to explain better, decided to make slaves the citizens, the population of the island of Melo, but also maybe an example of Alexander the Great. Also, if we are a different type of structure, the empire of Alexander the Great, but Alexander the Great, at the beginning of his politics, decided to destroy Thebes that wanted to opposite against Alexander, but at the same time, Alexander, after his battle against Thebes and after the destruction of the city, decided to buy his citizens, the women, the men that survived, and the babies, the children, as slaves. On the other hand, in any case, people who became slaves in ancient Greek society and then they became free in relation with the decision of their lord. In this sense, in any case, yeah, they became freedom, but at the same time, they couldn't become citizens. This is really different, for example, from differently by the Roman Empire, because in the Roman Empire, in the case of Rome, we know that the slaves that became free and at the same time, then that were part of an idea of relationship with their lord, when became free, they could become part of the Roman citizenship. On the other hand, the idea of Rome's, it was really interesting because, on the contrary to the Greeks, Rome, the ancient Romans decided to develop a specific type of romanization and law, including, however, at the same time, the other cultures. Therefore, uh, explicit, on the one hand, the idea of according to the Romans, we have to consider that we have to develop a specific type of empire, conquering new type of lands and territories, developing in these lands, in these territories, a specific type of law, our laws, and this type and a specific type of romanization, our romanization, with a specific type of just war, our just law. But at the same time, after this, Romans consider really important the possibilities that the other cultures in the end had to give to Rome. And at the same time, uh, Romans accepted to uh, take these uh, possibilities of these cultures and the costumes of these cultures into inside the Roman idea. Therefore, Rome decided to develop a new type of limes, a new type of borders that Greeks didn't develop because Greeks maintained itself only into the city-states. Rome developed a specific new type of idea at the beginning in the 8th century BC. It was similar with the ancient Greek city-state, but then decided to export it itself and develop and conquer new territories. But then, on the one hand, to maintain his empire, he developed a specific type of idea of borders, a specific type of idea of romanization, its type of idea of law, developing these three elements in new territories, in new land, etc. But conciliation, but connecting this idea of romanization, of law, of the idea of Pax Romana, developing this type of connection with the barbarians, with the idea of what are that type of costumes, that type of cultures, the type of science that the barbarians could explain to us to understand how manage, how develop better the Roman issue. This is really interesting because Rome decided to be more inclusive, much more than Greeks. In fact, Rome maintained its laws, maintained his idea of philosophy of law and philosophy of war, but at the same time, with his borders, etc. But at the same time, he decided and he accepted to understand and to admit that he necessarily had to needed necessary needed of the other cultures, in particular that cultures that could explain, could give a specific type of science, idea of military conception, poetry and literature that could develop the idea of Rome to give something better to Rome. This is really important. And Rome, after this inclusivism, after this idea, after took these ideas, try to Romanize with the idea of Romanization, this idea of inclusivism to maintain his empire. And this is not a case that the Empire of Rome maintain itself much more than the Greeks empire. And in particular, we know the Empire of Rome developed his idea of empire and maintained itself in particular a lot of centuries. Bye.